Hey everybody, welcome to episode 43 of the Five Barista Files. Today is Sunday, July 31st. Alright, I need to begin by apologizing for not podcasting last week. If you saw last week's episode of Knitting on the Fly, you know why I didn't podcast. Katie and her honey and my husband made me go whitewater rafting, which I didn't think was going to be terrible, but turns out I hate. Turns out I'm not somebody who enjoys staring danger in the face and laughing at it. Like, no. We gone camping with Katie and her honey, my husband and I had, and we had a great time, and they had asked us if we were going whitewater rafting with them, and we said, no, we're not going to go, whatever, things being the way they are. Well, they didn't like that answer, so they bought us whitewater rafting tickets and took us out. And I was okay until I got about to the dam where they start you and saw the water and went, oh no. And the three of them would get through a rapids and they would be all like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I'd be sitting there. This is not fun. I'm not having fun. I'm not having a good time. I was just terrified the whole time. So I took Sunday off, and then I've been teaching summer school the last 2 weeks, and that's at my new district, which is on the coast, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. But that's a 2-hour drive. So I was driving 2 hours, teaching for 4, and coming back, driving home another 2 hours. So it was an 8-hour day, but it was exhausting because it was 4 hours in the car every day. So, sorry, I'm going to sneeze working. I did take the week off. It was sort of unplanned, and I didn't announce that I just left you all hanging. So I'm sorry about that. I will see if I can post some of the pictures from whitewater rafting so you can see that I did, in fact, go. It's a good excuse, I guess. I did go. I did it. I don't ever have to do it again. So, I've been telling you guys about my knitting lately. That's another good reason not to podcast, because I haven't done anything. In 2 weeks, summer school was just exhausting, and I just didn't have the mental energy to deal with charts. So Even Star got no love. Ishbel got no love. The Frog Prince got a foot. This is 1 foot of 4 that need to be knit. Now that summer school's over and I've got most of August to myself, I'm hoping that the knitting mojo will come back and I will be furious and fast with the needles again. So, I knit the foot on the frog. I have my notes. Hang on, let me get my notes. I also told you last time that I'd gone to this awesome yarn shop and I bought some Noro Silk Garden sock. This is the Noro Silk Garden sock. I divided it into 2 balls and I started casting on a pair of Jaywalkers. Hated it. It looked bad. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. Just it wasn't working out correctly for me. And so I ended up ripping it all out. That's the stuff that you see around the outside of the ball. And now I am stumped. I don't know what to knit with this. I am thinking shawl, maybe 2-color shawl. I thought about Spectra by Stephen West, which is kind of like a stained glass window sort of shawl. Shawlette, really. It's kind of like a loopy-doo scarf. But I don't know. I'm not really sure. So if you've got any ideas, let me know. This is what it looks like. I ripped it out. I needed a worsted weight shop sample for my white ash worsted yarn. Somebody's knitting me a shawl out of the lace. Sorry, that sneeze is getting closer. Just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I need a shop sample in the worsted weight. Somebody's knitting me a shawl out of my lace. I have sample socks that I've knit. I did the Starving Artist hat in my bulky, so I'm getting there, but I really don't have anything in the worsted. I have a cowl, but I'm not terribly impressed with the cowl. It's one of my own designs, and I just didn't like the way it knit up. So I don't want to use that, because why would you use a poor example of something that you made? So I grabbed 2 single skeins of the worsted because they usually dye up in pairs. So these were one-offs, and I'm store using them. They are the Scarlet Letter, which is a little bit less vibrant than you're seeing on the screen. It's a little bit more of a brick red. and Animal Farm, which is the dark chocolatey brown. So red and brown. My husband picked these colors out. And I'm knitting a monster. This is Irving the Icebox Monster, knit out of Rebecca Danger's new book of the Book of Knitted Monsters. I cannot remember the title of that book now. The Big Book of Tiny Monsters. I forget what it's called. It's the new Rebecca Danger book. Anyway, this is Irving. My husband picked the monster as well, and the body is knit out of the Scarlet Letter, and the bottom, feet, legs, eye patch, and ears are knit out of the Animal Farm. So he's kind of cute. I kind of like him. I did pick up safety eyes. I thought about just doing stitched eyes, but they're not terribly, I don't do a very good job. So I picked up some of the Doris Solid Black Eyes. These I just got at Joann yesterday. There's 8 to a package. These are the bigger eyes, and these are the smaller eyes. I used the smaller eyes this time because he's a smaller monster. A lot of the other monsters are much larger than he is. I don't know. He's got kind of beady eyes. I'm not really sure. Maybe I should have gone with the big ones. But by the time I realized that, I'd already stitched him shut and stuffed him, so we're just going to make do, because that's what we do here at Highland Handmade Central. We make do. He actually knit up super duper fast. The directions in the book are very easy and straightforward. Simple language, simple directions. I really like the way it's written. It's not uber technical. She says, stuff your monster now. I mean, that's one of the directions. Take a minute and stuff your monster. Like, it's just very user-friendly language, and I like that. Especially where I haven't knit a whole lot of toys. I've knit some. I've knit a couple of elephants. I've knit, you know, but nothing major. So I really like it. So he's going to be sitting next to my yarn. Hopefully he'll encourage some people to buy some of the worsted yarn. My worsted yarn doesn't sell terribly well online, but it does fairly well at shows. So I'm hoping that this will keep things going. Pick up a couple skeins for yourself and knit some monsters. Really, I think you could probably easily get 4 of those guys out of these 2 skeins. If you did bigger monsters, you might not get quite that many, but especially if you're doing 2-color monsters, you can make them stripy, you could do whatever. It's a great way to use up scraps and things like that. So, I knit the monster, I knit the frog foot. Oh, the only other thing I've been knitting, I'm laughing because I'm embarrassed to show you guys this, is the pattern that was the second pattern I ever learned to knit. I'm knitting dishcloths. This is Peaches and Cream, not even the good sugar and cream, but Peaches and Cream cotton that I bought at Walmart for $1.77 a ball. I have this one, which is in blues and white, and this one, which is in white, cream, sort of a rosy, and brown. These are going to be for a gift from somebody who really is in need of some new dishcloths, because the ones that she are using are awful. Awful. These are being knit on US 7 4.5 millimeter. I was using circulars, but I'm using the circulars for the monster now, so I switched to straights. These are Susan Bates straights, so the heavy metal ones. And they're long. And you start with the dishcloth, you cast on 4 stitches. It's knit 2, yarn over, knit the rest of the row until you get to 44 stitches. So when I get to 44 stitches, I'm using up quite a bit of needle. But then I go back down to 4 stitches. It's knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit the rest of the row. So you start at it's basically knit on the bias, where you start here and it gets big and then it goes down, which keeps it nice and straight. And the yarn over makes a nice little edge here. But most of the time those needles are just kind of big and unwieldy, which is why I like the circulars, because the actual needle parts are shorter. But you gotta do what you gotta do. I can get 2 dishcloths out of a ball of yarn, so I did one with the blue, and I have enough here for another blue dishcloth. And then I did get some sugar and cream for some white dishcloths, and those balls are a little bit bigger, so I think I'm going to get slightly bigger dishcloths out of those. So she'll get 6 dishcloths. Her birthday's later coming up, I think, so hopefully she'll get those. Hopefully she doesn't watch that and figure out who it is I'm talking about. Alright, that's it. That's all I've been knitting. I was thinking about, I will show one thing that I'm going to be knitting. I had, a couple of weeks ago, I had gifted somebody the pattern of the My Wish Shawl by Laura Linneman, and the My Wish Shawl is a charity project. They're raising money for or a friend of the Knit Girls is raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And Lala designed the shawl, and the proceeds from that are going toward that, so that's awesome. Thank you, Lala. It's a 2-color shawl, and it's really, really pretty. It's knit top down. And I gifted the pattern, and that was good for me. It wasn't enough to get in the drawing to win any of the prizes, but, you know, I paid my bit and gifted somebody the pattern, and I was happy with that. And then my good friend from home up here just let me know this weekend. We went to breakfast at her house, and she informed me that her daughter, who is has been diagnosed with a pretty rare autoimmune disorder, and I can't pronounce it. It's JMD, I think, is the initials for it, but it's a rare autoimmune disease when your immune system actually attacks your body. Only 3 kids in a million have it. She's an adorable little girl. Her name's Caitlin. I've knit her stuff. She's awesome. I absolutely adore this little girl. Bright, sunny, happy. But she's getting a wish from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. She just found out a couple of weeks ago that they are granting her a wish. So she's not a terminal case. She's a chronic case. So in one way, that's good because we're hoping that she will have a long and happy life. But she's been through a lot in her 7 years, almost 8 years. So she really deserves the wish. So I'm going to purchase the pattern again, this time for myself, and I'm going to be knitting the My Wish shawl as well. And a special cause, it's a special little girl, so I figured I should use some special yarn. So one of the colors is going to be my Volmiza in the Young Mouse colorway. It's the 80-20 twin. And the other color will be yarn that I bought 2 years ago. If you remember me talking about my husband's oven mitt socks, this yarn was purchased at the same time from the same vendor. This is Enchanted Knoll Farm. This is the Enchanted, I think it's called just Superwash Sock. Hang on one second. Superwash Sock yarn. It's 90% Superwash Merino and 10% nylon. It's 435 yards. And this doesn't have a colorway name, but you can tell it's all kinds of dark blues, dark teals, blacks. It's a really nice dark colorway. So I think the contrast between the two will be really nice. They're both very subtly tonal, and they're both special to me. So I think this is going to be a good project. I'm not sure when I'm going to start this. Ishbel and or Even Star will have to be done before I can start this, but I've picked the yarn. I've set it aside. I know what this is going to be. So I'll be purchasing the pattern later today. All right, dye pots. De nada. I've got nothing. I had a late yarn delivery this week, and it didn't come in until Wednesday afternoon, and I had summer school, and I just haven't done anything. I did Thursday afternoon. I stopped and talked to a gentleman about an apartment down where I'm going to be teaching, and Friday I signed my contract and got that paperwork done, so it's official that I'll be moving, and that's been taking up a lot of mental energy. I'm starting the list of things that I need to buy to create a second household. You know, I need a couch. That probably ought to be able to convert in case we have guests. You know, I bought a frying pan at the Christmas tree shop the other day. It's bright magenta. Because why does that have a black frying pan? I'm all about the color. So, you know, I'm working on that, and that's been taking up a lot of my energy. However, I'm done summer school, and I've got the place. I signed the lease this week. So other than that, my days are pretty well open. So I'll be working on dividing fiber and whatnot, and then I have a show tomorrow in Madomic, and then the rest of the week will be lots of dyeing. I hope to have a big update for you next Monday. I hope to. I would really like to have a big update. Okay, moving on. Growth. Congratulations to all the people who got into the trifecta of Awesome Yarn Club. We are super excited to have you in our club. We are very, very sad that we couldn't put more people in, but there will be more clubs, and there will be more opportunities to get in. I ordered my yarn. It should be here on Wednesday. I will be doing the September shipment, so your first shipment will be from Highland Handmades. I've spoken with a couple of different vendors about the goodies that are going to go in the bag as well, in the box, so I'm getting the ball rolling on that. I'm absolutely floored with how excited people are to be in this club. So I hope that you all are happy with it. And I hope you're as excited as we are, because we are having a blast with this club already. Let's see. Oh, I will also be creating a new colorway this week. And this colorway will be the official Podcaster Challenge yarn. Knitting is my bag, who is on Ravelry. Her name's Lois. She's the organizer of the Podcaster Challenge. And I was not asked to participate. I was kind of hoping a viewer would challenge me to be in it, or I wasn't, and that was kind of what I said. And if somebody asked me to do it, I'll do it. But I'm not going to unless somebody really wants me to. And that's fine. But because it was free, Lois messaged me and asked me if I would be willing to do an official colorway for the challenge. And I was like, heck yes, I will do a color-specific official yarn. So I will be dyeing up the yarn this week. There's a couple of different ways you might be able to use this yarn. Now, the first way is the podcasters, when they get their item that they're going to be knitting, will have an option to create a knit-along in their groups for their listeners. So, for example, if Mommy Needs Yarn gets the pattern of the Twisty Goo hat, and she starts a knit-along, then if she is the group, if she is the podcaster who has the most people in her knit-along, she can win a prize. Okay? So that's one way. And somebody from the knit-along may also win this yarn. So a podcaster can win it, or a caller, a knit-along participant may also win it. Now, the other way to win it is to create, you wouldn't win the yarn specifically, but you would win a prize. There's also a category for people who knit something using the official Podcaster Challenge yarn. So I dye the colorway, you like it, you buy it, you knit something out of it, you could win a prize. And Lois Knitting My Bag has a ton of prizes already in, and there's some awesome prizes coming. So there are a couple of different ways to win, either using the yarn or participating. You might win a skein of the yarn. And we're hoping that next year, if we do this again, that perhaps the podcasters who participate may either win some yarn, or maybe we can work out a way for them to use the yarn and get a deal with the yarn if they knit their challenge item with that particular colorway. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. I'm going to dye that this week. I've got some ideas. Sometimes ideas don't translate terribly well into the yarn, so it takes me a couple of tries. I will be doing that in 3 different bases. There will be a sock version, a fingering weight version, a worsted version, and a bulky weight version. So there will be 3 different weights. So depending on what the challenge projects are, you can find one that would work well for you, hopefully, with that. So there may be some extended wait times on those yarns because I'm going to do a few in each, but if I have a huge amount of people who want, for example, the Podcaster Challenge yarn in bulky, and I've only done a few, I may have to order more yarn and dye some more up. So there may be some custom dye wait times on that. I will let you guys know when I know that. All right, process. Now, I've mentioned to you, of course I didn't bring any down because that's what I do, that I mentioned to you that I had bought a bunch of locally grown fiber and had it processed. I had gone to Diane Nolan of the Oasis Fiber Mill to have my yarn fiber processed and carted into roving. And I am taking it with me to tomorrow's show. I wanted to talk a little bit about the pricing that I do because I believe in transparency, and you know, people think that people sometimes have a hard time understanding what goes into the pricing of fiber. Now, I have both alpaca fleece and sheep fleece, and the sheep fleece is much cheaper. Now, the reason for that is the cost of the actual fleece cost me less. The alpaca fleeces all cost me $45 no matter how much they weighed. One fleece, $45. That was the price that they paid. One of them, the dark fawn, which was that really dark rusty brown, was only a pound of finished fiber, but it was a Korea alpaca. It was a baby alpaca. It was the first shearing, so it's unbelievably soft. So really, it's a luxury fiber, and I'm okay with offering that at a higher price because it is softer, it is better. The Cotswold Romney Cross was $4 a pound. way cheaper. I think I paid $24, $26 for it with tax. I think it was like $26 with tax. So anyway, I take the cost of the fiber, and then I add the cost of washing and carding. Now, I washed all my fleeces prior to Oasis Fiber Mill receiving them. However, they weren't washed well enough. She has certain standards that she has to adhere to for her machinery, and I'm totally okay with that. So she washed them and carded them. So I added that to the cost of the fiber. So for example, on the dark fawn, that was $122 for that 1 pound fleece. That's a lot of money. I decided to bag everything into 2-ounce bags for 2 reasons. One, it keeps from compressing the fiber because 2 ounces really is all you can fit in a bag without having to smush it. And I didn't want to smush it because I wanted that air to be kept in the roving. So I'm doing 2-ounce packaging for that reason, and also because it's cheaper to offer it in 2-ounce bundles rather than 4-ounce. So if people just wanted to try it, you're not out a huge expense. Especially with that dark fawn alpaca. It's totally worth the money, but you know, I could understand how somebody might not want to spend the money for 4 ounces. So anyways, it was $122 that it cost me. Nope, I lied. It was $61 that it cost me. Now all I'm trying to do is double my money, which means that I can do this again, but with some more. It's not quite double the money when you factor in the gas that it took me to go down to get the fiber and shipping costs and all that stuff. But cost me $61 to process the fleece. I doubled that to $122. That $122, I divided up between the 7 2-ounce packages that I got. I know that's only 14 ounces. When you clean it, sometimes a little bit less happens. So I had 7 2-ounce packages. That's $17.42 per bag, so I'm charging $17.50 per 2-ounce bag just to make it a more even number. So you can get 2 ounces of dark fawn alpaca for $17.50. The Cotswold Rami Cross, that wool, because it was so much cheaper, is only $6 per 2 ounces. So you can get 4 ounces of the Cotswold for $12, which is a totally reasonable price, especially considering that it got the same awesome treatment that the alpaca fiber did. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about the way fiber is priced. I'm really not trying to make much money off of the fiber. I really want to support local growers and provide Highland grown fiber, but and some Maine fiber. But I just want it there for you guys. So I don't make a whole lot of money off it. I don't do a whole lot with it. It's a lot of shipping it out and waiting for it to come back. And then I divide it up. But I don't dye it, and I don't do I don't braid it or anything. It just goes in a bag. So yeah. All right. On to Grabby Hands. This could be a nice length episode today. It's not going to be too long. It's not going to be an hour. You're not going to be bored. It's going to be good. Maybe you're bored. I don't know. All right. Grabby Hands. I'm not going to be able to talk about everything I got in Grabby Hands today because it's been 2 weeks and I have too much. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I won a contest on Knitty, on the Knitty blog, that I had won the Hand Spinning Rare Wools DVD, How to Spin Them and Why We Should Care. I also won fiber, and I got the fiber this week. I have not received the book yet. The book is the Fleece and Fiber Source book. That's the only of the 3 prizes I haven't won yet. I'm going to give that a few more days before I ask the contest person about it. So hopefully that will show up soon. I'm going to open this upside down. Everything's going to go flying. So in the mail to me, and this smells very sheepy, so I'm not going to leave it open very long. It's this package of lovelies. Isn't that amazing? Look at that. That's 19 bags of breed-specific wool. I have some of these fibers I have not been able to find either wholesale, which is how I buy most of my fiber, or even at fiber shows in fleece form. I haven't been able to find them commercially. So, Welsh Mountain. This is all from the spinningloft.com. I've seen mohair. That one's not too terribly special. I'll just show you the special ones. Oxford. I need to read up on Oxford because I don't know a whole lot about the breed. Lincoln. I have seen Lincoln locks before, but I have not purchased them. Clun Forest, which is a down type wool. This is supposed to be amazing and crimpy and crispy and wonderful. We'll see. Navajo Churro. That's one of the more interesting breeds. They look really interesting. And these are all in the grease. These are all dirty grease fleeces. And they're about 2 ounces. You can see this one's got some schmutz right in there. But you can tell even in the bags which ones are curly locks and which ones are crimpy locks. This is Tunis, another primitive sheep. Jacob, which I have not spun before. Oh, this one got all rolled up. Oh no, where is it? Oh, Southdown. Southdown. This one was pretty dirty too. I have sold commercial Wensleydale before, but it's already combed into top. These are the locks. So I have not spun from the lock. That'll be interesting. Leicester Longwool, which is related, I understand, to both Blueface and Blackface Leicester and Border Leicester. Cotswold. Rommeldale, which is a crossbreed of 2 things, and I can't remember what they are. Romney and something else. And then I also got 5 little packages of cleaned and processed fiber. Alpaca. Angora. It's quite a bit of Angora there. Kid mohair. Baby mohair. I've seen kid mohair before. Cashmere, which I have not spun. I generally don't purchase cashmere because the best cashmere comes from animals that are nutritionally deficient because their fleeces are finer. They can't grow such a thick fiber. So I generally don't buy cashmere, but it's given to me. I'm going to try it. I do have a friend who raises cashmere goats, and her cashmere I would totally spin. And then the last package, oh, you read that right, baby. Now, I don't know how to say this, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. I say it Quiviet, but I'm probably completely wrong. But this is muskox. I can't wait to spin that. I just want to play with it so bad. So I'm going to be processing these, scouring them one at a time individually to keep them all separate. I think the current plan right now is to knit squares for an Afghan. I actually may knit dishcloth squares because those would be, they're square no matter how big they get because you just get halfway and then you close it off so they end up square. And then just knit them or stitch them together. We'll see how that works. I'm not 100% sure that's what I'm going to do, but I think that would be an interesting way to showcase these individual fibers. So I'm going to clean them while I wait for the book, but I'm not going to spin them before I have the book. I probably won't spin them, honestly, until I am down in my apartment all by myself. And I have too much time on my hands. That will keep me occupied. So, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much again, Jory Marino, for my big box of fibery goodness. I'm really excited about it. And I will make sure to blog every individual fiber. I'm not good about using the blog because the podcast, to me, I tell you everything I need to, and so I don't blog very often. But I won't be podcasting about the individual characteristics of all of these fibers. So I can do that on the blog. All right. To have a little bit of stash enhancement this week, I don't count the kitchen cotton at Peaches and Cream. Doesn't count. However, while I was looking for apartments and I was down on the coast and doing summer school and all that, I kept driving past this touristy little gift shop. And it said yarn on the side of the building, and I kept thinking, it's a gift shop that also sells yarn. So what have they got? Like Red Heart, maybe some Lion Brand? I was being a judgy McJudger pants, and I totally paid for that because when I finally stopped, in between looking at apartments and went in, I was in serious trouble because it's awesome. Freaking awesome. The place is called Shirleys Yarn and Crafts, and then Gifts is just written underneath. They do not have a website, however. First thing I saw when I walked in, wall of Malabrigo. Oh my god. The entryway, when you walk in before you get to the actual building proper, is where she puts all the discount yarns. Now, I ignored the Fun Fur and the other novelty yarn. and reached into the back where there was some really nice merino alpaca blend yarn. Now, this is Plymouth Yarn's Jory Marino, which is a luxury Indicida brand. I have no idea what that means. This is 55% Surrey alpaca, 45% extra fine merino wool. Now, extra fine, I believe, has to have a micron count of 18 microns or fewer. So it's very fine. Has a little bit of a halo. I don't know if you can see. Let's put that over Patsy Jack. You can kind of see there's a little bit of a halo there. I got 2 skeins because each one is 110 yards. So I have basically a skein of Cascade 220. It's in a colorway 799, which is a sagey, heathery green. This is going to be a hat for me. I think it's going to be a cool house hat for me. I've knit cool house before, and I was showing a knitter, and she thought I was giving it to her. So she went home with it. So it's time I knit myself another cool house. That will be, again, another future project when I'm home alone. Now, the other thing I bought was Yarn with a Conscience. Sort of like the monostyle Uruguay yarns or some of the other ones. This is called Mirasol yarn. This is a hand-dyed skein of, I'm going to say it's probably a DK weight yarn. Let me show you here. It's not quite sock weight. It's 50 grams is 165 yards. So what is that, like 330 yards per 100 grams? So more than worsted, but not sock. So it's somewhere in between sport and DK. I think this would make fantastic preemie beanie babies. Preemie beanie caps. Not beanie babies, beanie caps. So I'm going to be knitting some baby hats out of this. It's very soft. It's 100% merino. Spun in Peru, and this talks a little bit about the, basically, this yarn company adopted a town, and there's some really good information about it if you go to mirasolperu.com. That's the website, Mirasol, M-I-R-A-S-O-L Peru, P-E-R-U.com. And it talks about the heritage and culture of textile artistry is one of the richest in the world. By purchasing it, you are supporting the children of these shepherds and the continuation of this tradition. A portion of every purchase is dedicated directly to the funding of a school in the remote area of Munyani in the region of Puno. But there's a book that there's an old gentleman who is, I guess, the husband of the woman who owns the place. And he showed me this big book about the school that they built, shows all the pictures, shows how they all are involved in the making of the yarn. And it was $8.25 for this, and the Surrey alpaca, the Surrey merino yarn was discounted for $4.13 a ball. So pretty good prices. I was pretty impressed. I will definitely be back. I think the lady that owns the store is awesome. She has this short gray hair, but she's got it dyed in like 15 different colors, and she had sparkles on her face. And she was just really cool. I'm hoping maybe to approach her at some point about carrying my yarns in the shop as well, especially where I'll be 10 miles up the road. Be awesome. All right. The other 2 things that I'm going to grab your hands really quickly are 2 magazines. The Knit Simple Fall 2011 and the Interweave Knit and Spin 2001. I bought both of these at Borders. I also bought these 2, which I'll talk about next week, at Borders. Borders is going out of business, so all of their magazines are 40% off. 40% off makes these magazines affordable. And so I stocked up. Including, like, I haven't bought a Knit Simple since, like, 2011 because, generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of their patterns. I'm not a fan of that hat, and I will never wear a hat like that. Not just because of the colors, but because of the fit. Like, I want my hats to go way down over my ears, and this just looks funny. But there's some good stuff in this magazine, which to me made it totally worth paying 40% of $7. So the first thing I love to do is read all of the ads, because some of the ads are freaking adorable. Cascade Yarns has this little boy here with these 2. Oh, how cute are they? He's just adorable, his little hands in his pockets. So I find actually a lot of patterns that I want to knit based on these ads. This one I want to knit. I don't know that I ever will because that looks really time consuming, but I love the fit. I love the look. I love that. And it has a little, one of those things that you can read with your smartphone, the QR codes, and will take you to the Universal Yarn website where you can find information about the yarn and pattern book. So it's called the Winding Road Turtleneck. I think I'm just going to look it up on Rav, see how I can get it through Ravelry. And then the other pattern I really liked was actually on the next page. This sweater. I really liked that sweater. Very simple, sort of meshy, very straightforward, positive ease. It's called Day at the Beach, and it's knit in riveting, which is that 100% recycled yarn, the yarn that's made from old blue jeans. I totally want to knit with that yarn. I tried winning it from the Keegan Lane Yarns His and Hers podcast, but didn't. Boo hiss. Anyway, so of course there are ugly things that I would never knit as well, but that's what ads are for. Excuse me, that's what ads are for. Now, the reason about the magazine was for this article. This is a feature on Rebecca Danger and her knitted monster. It's called the Big Book of Knitted Monsters, that, by the way. That's what it's called. And actually, there are patterns for 3 of the monsters that are not in her book right here. There's a hippo, there's a little guy who likes Mondays, and there's a little guy here who is good with his hands. The 3 patterns are in this book, but also there's some really good pictures about, hang on, I gotta find it. What the heck? Where did it go? There was some good information in here about ways to do pickup stitches, and here we go. It's called Critter Cuties. This isn't the actual pattern, but it shows you how to connect the 2 feet together to the body, what you should do for the tail, how do you pick up stitches. These are for the stitches for the nose that juts out of the face. It shows you how to do all that stuff. And yeah, it's in the book, but I really thought that that step-by-step feature was pretty awesome. It's Harriet the Haberdashery Hippo, Malcolm the Monday Monster, and Corbin the Creative Monster. I just think they're so cute. It talks about provisional cast-ons and all that stuff, but it just, I really liked that in this book. I really, really liked that it showed you not just a pattern, but also sort of a technique style as well. There was one other pattern that wasn't terrible in this book, and I don't know what weight of yarn it is, but I kind of liked it. I'm sure it's got to be like a DK or a worsted. It's a hat called the Ribbed Beret. Now, this is a really simple beret. The ribbing is knit on a smaller size needle than the actual body of the hat, so it doesn't quite line up, and I kind of liked that. Now, it says here, the decreases that shape the top form a pretty rib embellished by a purchased button at the center. And you can go online to see it. I don't want a button on the top of my hat. That looks weird. And this helmet thing, by the way, like, no. But I did think that hat was very simple and nice, especially for a semi-solid yarn. So, that's Knit Simple, Fall 2011. This other one I actually bought with Katie from Knitting in the Fly on the mind. Because, and I wasn't going to buy this book at all, because it's a $15 magazine, but Borders, 40% off, it's a lot easier. This is Interweave Knit and Spin 2011. Now, there's all kinds of stuff. I, first of all, absolutely love the way the table of contents is organized. Love it. Table of contents starts with essentials here, how-tos here, and then here's the patterns. And they're separated by mitts, socks, scarves, sweaters, and for kids. So the essential stuff that you need to know, how to do all of this stuff, and then here are all the patterns with all the pictures and stuff, but they're separated out by type of garment. So if you know you want to knit socks, you can look specifically at all of these different sock patterns. I thought that was incredibly helpful. There are a lot of excerpts in this from other spinning books, and they're good spinning books. Paul, can you move that book? The light is shining right in my face. Thank you. Okay, so, and the how-to section is further divided by the spindle, the wheel, and making the yarn. There are a lot of excerpts in here from Judith Mackenzie McCune and Maggie Casey and Abby Frankelmont, and a lot of things that you may have seen before if you have a lot of spinning books, but put together in this magazine. Fantastic. Love it. So you can see I have a lot of tabs here. I'm going to try and go kind of quick. The first article is an article everybody should read. Everybody should read this article. What's the difference between roving, top, and sliver? Even fiber sellers are guilty of calling everything roving. It's not roving. And it shows you pictures across the top. This is hand comb top, commercial top, hand carded. This is a rolag. That's a bat. This is commercial roving and a sliver. So it tells you the picture. And then down here is pin drafted roving, poonies, and silk hankies. And it has basically like a definition of all of them. This is written by Abby Frankelmont. My nose is running again, I'm sorry. But it's great information. If you're not sure what the difference is, you should absolutely read it. The next section's on washing wool. I'm not really going to go over that, except to say that she says to use Orvis paste. This is Robin Russo. I don't use Orvis paste. I use Blue Dawn, and it works just fine. But if you have Orvis paste and you want to use it, why not? Go for it. Now, spindle spinning by Maggie Casey. Maggie Casey is excellent. Her directions are excellent. The photos that she uses are phenomenal. She does both top and bottom wall spindle here. This is it doesn't say if it's from an actual book or if it's separate. But I just love that Maggie Casey has so much fun with her pictures. Like, you can just see she's just smiling all the time. She has such a good time. And she uses a shoebox lazy Kate, which I love. Then she goes to spinning on a wheel. Say Maggie Casey, say happy, happy. And she goes to talk about how to spin on a wheel. She really does make it very easy to understand. So if you were wondering about that, now you know. Then Maggie Casey, and this is from her book, Start Spinning, which I do have. She talks about all the parts of the spinning wheel, how to get acquainted with it, how to use your drive band, how to use your tools. There's an article by Rudy Aman about wheels, how to choose your first wheel. So if you're looking for a wheel. Article on 7 different drafting techniques. I don't really have a technique. I just do it. Okay, and then there are all these sections on patterns. Separated out by category. This is mitts, and they're all on here. These are Welsh Mountain, Clun Forest, I forget, mohair, I think. These ones are garter stitch gloves, and down here are thrummed mittens or fleece-lined mittens. I knit my thrummed mittens from the Yarn Harlots tutorial on her blog, but this has it has the whole pattern right in here, and it's really awesome. And it shows what it looks like. Here's all of the fiber, here's the lock separated, and here's what they look like on the needles, which is pretty cool. And that is that pattern is by Rita Buchanan, another big spinning guru. Then the next section is hats. Now, I'm not a huge fan of some of these hats. And like this one, nope, this one I know you've seen before from if you've looked at Spin-Off magazine. But I really liked some of the fibers that they did. Now, the horseshoe cap was one that they had put on their call for submissions, and they had done a bunch. Somebody actually knit one of these horseshoe, they made a beret out of the horseshoe cap with Highland Handmades. You can see it on their online spinning thing, but they show it how it looks with all different kinds of yarns, which I really love. I think that makes a difference. Socks, all different types of socks, very plain socks, textured socks, crazy colorwork socks. What the heck? There's tons of good stuff in here. And like the white socks that were on this page, she actually talks about Let me see if I can find it. I was really impressed to see that. They're called the Main Island Eyelet Socks by Gemma Huntress. And it talks about, after she cleaned the whole fleece, she bought this fleece from an island sheep. And then I scoured the fleece using Orvis paste and lukewarm water. After it dried, I sent the fleece to Diane Nolan of Oasis Farm Fiber Mill in Otisfield, Maine, which is who I use. How funny is that? She used the same place I did. That's all. I just had to share that little bit of, I don't know, wonderfulness. Scarves. There's a section on scarves. There is a section in here about knitting with energized singles, which I'm not all about that, but some people are. Twisty scarves. So it doesn't just do scarves. They also do twisty scarves, like the Mobius type scarves. And then there's sweaters. Like this guy. This is an Egyptian vest sweater, I guess, that he designed himself. I don't know about that. It doesn't have sleeves. This one looks a little bit better to me. Ooh, I just touched him in a bad spot. But you know, there are sweaters that aren't shown on those pages too, so it's worth it to page through and look. And then there's the For the Kids section, which talks about bunnies and baby knits and whatnot. The very last little article is Top 10 Reasons to Own a Spinning Wheel by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. I'm not going to read that to you. We're at 48 minutes, so I guess it's been an hour anyway. Woo! Okay. That's all I have for this week. I promise you 2 things. I will podcast next week, and there will be a shop update. That's about all I can promise. I can't promise knitting. I can't promise anything else. But I will try my best to get you guys back to what you want, which is the fiber and yarn that I dye. So until next week, guys, happy spinning and knitting, and thanks for tuning in.